To the ones who don't know, my name is Marcus, I'm 25 years old. I'm a gender dysphoric female and I live my life as a man. As if I was born a male. I've been on testosterone for 5 years. I got my breast removed at age 21 and my ovaries and uterus at age 22. I've changed my legal name and sex. Basically, I've changed my entire life. I did all of that to alleviate the mental disorder gender dysphoria. It's been 5 years and I'm extremely happy with my transition. And I'm finally moving on with my life. Now, I am technically what you call a transsexual. Today it's really popular to talk about trans people, trans politics, discourse, whatever you want to call it. We hear so much nowadays about trans women being in women's spaces, like in sports, locker rooms, jails. And we also hear a lot about trans kids. Politicians all around the world, mostly in the West of course, are currently discussing if trans kids should have access to the medical transition. And I'm sure most of you have seen videos on the internet of people having mental breakdowns because they got misgendered. All of the things I just mentioned has nothing to do with transsexualism. And that's exactly why I started a YouTube channel. That's why you're watching this video right now. About 5 years ago, I was fed up with all of this bullshit. I was not having it seeing so many activists who pretend to know what it's like to deal with gender dysphoria, to have my experience. Especially when we talk about the children, if it's ethical to give children puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. I did or I do not want anyone out there in the real world to believe that I'm for that, for damaging children. I don't want people to associate trans with child abuse. Me speaking out is not just about me, wanting to save my own ass, my own image, reputation, whatever. The vast majority of all gender dysphoric people, aka transsexuals, do not support children transitioning. Period. But unfortunately, they're the silent majority. When you hear about trans in the media, most of the time, it's not trans. It doesn't represent what it means to be a gender dysphoric person. Since coming out as a rational transsexual, I have received very mixed responses. And in today's video, I want to show you the love I get, but also the hate I get. Yalla. Let's get into it. I posted a picture of myself on Instagram not that long ago, saying that no matter what I've done to my body, I will never be a man. Because that's the truth. And this trans-identified woman says, the audacity and power of presenting as a man makes you feel so on top of the world, huh? Better than all other men, huh? And trans men who disagree with you are just wrong, huh? Right. What language is this? Luckily, I can translate, because I've heard it so many times before. The trans community accuses me of being arrogant, not as an individual, but as a trans man. Activists claim I believe I'm a better trans man than others, like I'm better at being trans. That's so weird and doesn't make sense, because there's no competition here. Going through a medical transition is personal and has nothing to do with other people. Unless you transition because you saw it on TikTok, that's what we call a social contagion. But actual transsexual people transition to make themselves feel better, to alleviate their own gender dysphoria. But most people who identify as trans nowadays do not deal with gender dysphoria. So maybe they do see the point of transitioning as a competition, as being a part of a competition rather. I think it's stupid though. The audacity and power of presenting as a man. What she's referring to here is what the trans community calls passing privilege. And it's the concept that trans people like me face less discrimination due to us passing as the opposite sex in society. And strangers do not know that we're trans. It's a bad thing to have passing privilege. Why? Don't ask me, I don't know. Back in the day, passing was the whole point of gender dysphoric people transitioning. But today, activists will use it against you. It's somehow a bad thing to pass? Nothing makes sense nowadays, I hate it. Back in the day, meaning 2 seconds ago, most people within the LGBT community, without the added QI+, would agree that people like me are actual transsexuals, and people like her are not trans. So what's the deal, sweetie? Are you jealous that you don't pass? Or do you think that I'm a wrong trans because I do pass? And that doesn't fit your narrative. While I'm happy you don't get dysphoria, you still come across as selfish and entitled. the content you post, you punch down other trans people who don't have the same dysphoria as you in order to make yourself look like a true trans. What are you trying to prove? I think you just said it. It comes off as insecure and just completely mean. Trans people can come in many different shapes and forms. Your content harms people and only spreads ignorance. Why can't you use your platform for actual good? You're such a fascist when it comes to gender. Well, that's a merch idea. A gender fascist. Now I want to change my bio to I'm a gender fascist. Seriously pandering to ignorant people and trying to be the young Buck Angel is not an accomplishment. I respectfully disagree. Buck Angel is not only successful, the most famous trans man on the planet. He's an amazing, loving person. So you gotta understand that calling me the young Buck Angel is one of the biggest compliments you can ever give me. Okay, so I'm selfish and entitled for defining what it means to be a gender dysphoric individual. An experience I personally have, or had in the past. But even if I didn't, it's quite, well, once you get into it, it's quite easy to understand. Because the old-fashioned transsexuals have always existed. And no one really had a problem with transsexuals until the fake kinds took over the community. How is it selfish for me to say that predators, trans-identified males who want easier access to women, are not real trans people? They're just creepy. How is it selfish for me to clarify to the world that there's a difference between a creepy, predatory man and the average gender dysphoric male who just want to live a normal life without the disorder? Please tell me, because my intention is to save the community. Not just my own ass, but all gender dysphoric people. We have nothing to do with trans activism. Well, maybe there's a couple who are activists, but the vast majority of all transsexual people do not want anything to do with trans activism. With advocating for sterilizing kids just because they're gender confused, men being in women's sports, we want nothing to do with that. And if you have to shit on me for saying so, it says a lot more about you than me. Trans activists often try to gaslight people, me especially. Your content harms people and only spread ignorance. No, I speak out against it, but people like you are the ones spreading ignorance. No matter how many nasty names you call me, I will never be okay with child abuse. No matter how many ideological doctors try to gaslight people into believing that sterilizing gender-confused children with puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones is not child abuse. I know what's ethical and what's not ethical to do to people, children and adults. Despite what you claim, I'm not insecure. I think maybe you are, right? You're the type of person who will change what you believe in just because a they-them influencer told you to change your opinion. When the trans community claims that I am arrogant, that I believe I'm better than other trans people, what they're referring to is that I call out fake trans people. I constantly say, you're not trans, you're not trans, you're not trans. It's not just me who do it. Everyone with eyes and ears can see what's going on, and still, I get a lot of shit for it. Just because I say you don't experience this that I experience doesn't make me arrogant. I don't see my or other people's transness as a competition. And most importantly, I do not consider transness a spectrum. To make it very simple, you're either trans or not trans. There's no in-between, therefore no spectrum. Before you lose any more brain cells, let's get into the positive comments I get from speaking out. Why can't there be more people like you? Like the other day, I was trying to be open-minded and asked someone what a they-them is, so I had a better understanding. But apparently all I did was offending them, made them cry, and got kicked out of the only lesbian bar here, all because I wanted to learn and understand. I never felt more alone in the whole community, I guess, being gay, lesbian, Republican, and asking a question to be more knowledgeable or understanding is now offensive. That's so crazy, oh my god. This is why I believe I'm not being selfish when making videos. I get the feeling that a lot of people feel super relieved when watching my content, listening to my opinions. Not just because I'm trans and it's refreshing to hear a trans person who's not insane, but it's more about hearing other people in general saying the things that I'm saying. It's more about the arguments, in other words. This is a message from a young woman, and it made me so emotional when reading it for the first time. Thank you so much, Marcus. You saved me from starting testosterone. Seeing your videos after everyone in trans activists saying you can be feminine and trans made me think it was okay I was so hyper feminine and I can still be trans. You made me realize how stupid that shit is. And thank you so much. I would have probably transitioned if it wasn't for you. I'm 14 and wasted 4 whole years of my life being something I'm not. Society just made me hate being a girl, and now I embrace it. Thank you, Marcus. You're helping so many people, including myself. She was 10 years old when being exposed to trans activism. It's messed up. I receive so many positive messages, comments, and sometimes I'm blessed with meeting people in real life who express how grateful they are for my content and my activism, if you can call it that. Am I an activist, by the way? I hope you know I'm so grateful. And just to clarify, the negative messages, the hate, even the threats I get is nothing compared to the love I get. So if that's what I experience, then why can't you speak up? What are you afraid of? It's not nice if people say you should off yourself or that they want to do that for you. But you shouldn't care, and you should definitely not take it personal. What you should take personal is the love, is the personal stories you'll get. And that should motivate you to speak out even more often, louder. What are you waiting for? Before you go, I just want to thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, remember to hit subscribe and the notification bell. Follow me on social media, and I cannot wait to see you all in the comments down below. Peace out.